Super Rugby Power Rankings, folks, for round number 13. Couple of rounds to go. We will go through the power rankings to see where the teams are standing, having a look at their kind of current form rather than just where they sit on the table. And you guys can let us know your thoughts, how you are backing the teams as we head towards the playoffs. The Waratahs have got in 12th, which is the same as their spot on the table, and kind of hard to argue for having them anywhere else. They've had prop troubles in terms of their injuries, which is not helping. 4 losses in a row, 2 wins throughout the season. Beaten by 20 points by the Force over in Perth at the weekend. Not ideal. Moana Pacifica, after some kind of early season promise, have kind of, ended up in the spot that we predicted they would. Prior to the start of the season, they were in 11th, which is the same as where the power rankings have got them. They are also on a 4-match losing streak, just like the Waratahs. Although one thing I will say for the Moana Pacifica lads is they put in a decent shift against the Canes. They didn't get flogged, which is, it's a positive, but it's hard to kind of give them any credit for that in terms of rankings. The Crusaders are here in 10th, which is so far a match for the actual table. Their losing run is like 1 win in their last 6, so not great for the Crusaders. They've had a couple of wins this year where you think maybe this is the time they turn it around. A couple of guys come back from injury, you think maybe that's going to be the boost they need. It just hasn't happened. They are backs to the wall with 2 rounds remaining. And then the Rebels have dropped. They are one of the big teams that have got a big difference in the power rankings compared to their actual spot. Namely because the Rebels had a decent start to the season and they've kind of fallen off the pace. Like their recent record, I think, is also 4 losses in a row. So hard to kind of argue they're one of the form teams, even if they are mid-table on the actual table. Form-wise, it's not looking great. Although that being said, they did give the Chiefs a good run for their money at home. But again, it's kind of hard to give credit for a valiant loss when it's still a loss. The Drua have got in 8th, which is up. I thought they might go a little bit higher in the power rankings, but they've only managed to go up 1 spot, which sees them swap places with the Rebels. So, the Drua continue. As I drop the next team. The Drua continue to have this kind of home fortress, and they are just struggling away. If they do make it into the 8, which it looks like they might, and they have to travel away because the top 4 spots have already been secured, they're going to have to find a way to win away from home. Otherwise, you're just delaying your exit for 1 extra round from the teams that finish outside the top 8. So, I don't know what the answer is, because at home, I don't know if it's the conditions, if it's the fans, if it's a combination of things, but the Fijian and Drua are just a team which seems so much better at home than they do away, which is something that needs to change if they're going to do anything in the comp. The Highlanders have gotten 7th. They are down with their loss to the Blues. They were genuinely disappointing against the Blues, mainly because the Highlanders, kept their squad stable. The Blues had debutants in it, and the Blues still flogged them. Highlanders fans weren't too happy with one of the tackles from Ofa Tuangafasi, but I think even if Tuangafasi had been carded, the Highlanders aren't winning that one. So, they got put to the sword. It was close at halftime, to be fair. But, 3-match winning run ended, so they are down 1 spot. The Force, goodness me, the Force, they are up 1 spot into 6th. They've won 2 games in a row. Similar position with the Fijian and Drua, that they are a better side at home than they are away. The Force's recent results means, 2 wins in a row, 3 wins out of their last 5. So at least that's kind of a bit of a positive record as they can potentially look to play spoilers to maybe secure an 8th spot. They're still 2 points behind the Drua outside the playoffs at the moment, and they've got an away game coming up, but then so do the Drua. The Reds are in 5th, which is the same spot as what they are on the actual table. They lost away to the Drua, which, as I said, is there's kind of no shame in that because a lot of teams have gone and struggled over in Fiji, so the Reds, with the red card, didn't do themselves any favours with Vunivalu getting a couple of yellows, which ended in red. Their 2-match winning run has ended, so you still feel like the Reds will be a threat. But, they're still a fair way off the pace from the top 4 And the top four doesn't feel like there's much between them. Now, I said this last week and they've come out in the same spot. The Hurricanes. It feels harsh to have them in fourth because for a long period they were clearly the best team in Super Rugby. Then the Blues have kind of come along and maybe wrestled that position away from them in recent times. But the Hurricanes are well and truly second on the table. And the Power Rankings have got them out of fourth. I was having, why? I mean, they got a win over Moana Pacifica, but again, not that convincing. They would have been expected to win by more, despite the fact that they made a bunch of changes. I guess it's because the last four results for the Canes, there's a loss to the Brumbies, a win over the bottom side in the Waratahs, a loss to the Blues, and a win over the second bottom side in Moana Pacifica. So to be fair, if I can be fair, if we're looking at more recent results for the Power Rankings rather than just overall log, which has them second, the recent form over the last four games isn't that flash. You've beaten the two bottom teams and two losses. Personally, I still think I would have them higher, but I can kind of see why it's come out where it is. You guys let me know if I'm on the right or wrong track or if I'm having too many drinks at night. The Chiefs in third, same as they were last week. Late winner over the Rebels, so again, not that convincing. They were away from home, which is at least a little bit of a boost. Since they lost to the Hurricanes, though, they've beaten the Waratahs, the Force, Moana Pacifica, and the Rebels. So they also haven't had to face any kind of big gun team since that last time they played the Hurricanes. And their next game is against the Hurricanes. So that'll be a real test, in terms of the log and in terms of the power rankings to see where the sides are at. The Brumbies are in second. The Brumbies' recent form since that loss to the Blues, which was really discouraging, was that big win over the Hurricanes. But then they beat the Drua, the Waratahs, and the Crusaders. I know the Crusaders are a big name side, but this year, look where they are. And they've beaten them like 28-20, 29-21, and 31-24. So none of those results are really that convincing either. So maybe that kind of speaks to a little bit of parity in the competition. I mean, the results are still going the ways of the favourites, but sometimes the margins are a wee bit closer. So yeah, the Brumbies are in second, but they've not been blowing teams off the park in the last few rounds. And then the Blues, they've got the best record in Super Rugby, so it kind of makes sense that they are first. And they did put the Highlanders to the sword. Like, that's one of the things that we haven't seen from necessarily some of the other kind of top teams. So 46-7 over the Brumbies a few weeks ago. They did kind of have a rough go of it against the Reds, kind of not long later, but they beat the Rebels easily, 38-11. They beat the Hurricanes in a proper arm wrestle, ding-dong battle, and then they beat the Highlanders 47-13. So, yeah, the Blues have been putting on some points. We'll see if it kind of translates into any post-season success, or if the power rankings ain't worth a damn. We'll kind of have to wait and see. A fair bit of time between now and the next game. If you're looking for something to do, why don't you check out 2 Cents on Tour? That's me on the channel. Did a video the other day where I spoke to a dude in China in a small city who randomly just spoke English. He was a security guard. Like, I've been in China for a few years, and trust me, bumping into people in small cities who randomly just bust out conversational English is rare. So he was a cool dude. If you want to see that, it's up there or down there. But yes, you guys let us know your thoughts on the power rankings, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.